And welcome to midweek. Yeah, midweek online. If you are live with us, thank you so much for being here. I am so glad that you have found us today. Welcome. And if you are watching later, thanks for finding the video. I'm so glad you did. Whether you are live or later, hi, my name is Jess. I am the junior high student minister at Hope Christian Church. Nice to meet you. We are in for a good time tonight, but before we have a couple announcements, of course. The very first being, of course, our band app. I'll keep saying it. It's fine. It's still there. It's still waiting for you. I promise. That's where I post any announcements, information, events, some funny stuff sometimes, and that's just where we connect. So you want to be a part of that. The link for that is in the description below. All you have to do is click that link. It'll take you right to it. You just make a profile and you're done. Simple. Announcement number 2. I'm so excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am for camp. We're going to camp. It's going to be July 27th through the 30th. And we're going to High Hill Christian Camp in High Hill, Missouri. Ooh, that Missouri doesn't have an eye on it. That's embarrassing. It is $175 per student. And I know, it's like, Jess, we're in the middle of a pandemic. How in the heck are we going to camp? If you have any questions, any concerns at all, if your parents have questions, or if you're just like, Jess, sign me up. I want the link for registration. All you got to do is just send me an email right here. This is my email address. Any questions, concerns, if you need the link, shoot me an email. I'd love to help you out. So if you forget where that's at, it was on the screen. Now it's not. Now it is. Now it's not. But if you forget, it's in the description below. That's all you gotta do. Just gotta go down there to find it. And last, very, very exciting announcement I am over the moon about. We're coming back in person. Yes. Next week is our very last week online for midweek online. It's been a good run. Very interesting time, very cool to be able to talk about Jesus over the internet. But we have a movie night coming up. That is going to be July 15th. And that is going to be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in our youth room upstairs. So we're going to be able to get back in person, watch a movie, eat some popcorn, drink some soda, of course see a movie, and this is a BYOB event, meaning bring your own blanket or pillow, whatever suits you best. And I've gotten a couple suggestions for what the movie should, or what others think the movie should be. That is up on our band app. So if you want to suggest a movie, you gotta go there. I've got a couple suggestions. I haven't made up my mind yet. So you get one more week. This week is the last week, because next week I'm going to announce here on this channel what it is we're watching at our movie night. So if you have a major suggestion that you want to, get in the band app. Put it there. And if you like one of the suggestions already there, say it again or give that post a like so that I know what you guys want to watch. Try to make sure it's appropriate. Okay? I don't want to watch bad things. We're watching this at church, guys. Come on now. But we'll figure it out. It's in the band app. If you have any questions and you're like, Jess, I don't know if this is appropriate, again, connect with me on the band app. You can talk to me directly. It's great. So check it out. Those are my 3 announcements. Last week we played the restaurant emoji game. This week I have found a great one. It is called Jurassic Wait. If you guys can't guess by the title, what we're going to be doing is they're going to toss up a dinosaur on the screen, and we have to decide how much that dinosaur weighs. As long as you're like close to like the hundreds mark for some of them. For some of these, it's other, like, we have grace. That's what I'm trying to say. We'll have grace for these answers because we're not going to get it exact because, we don't have dinosaurs around us. But anyway, here we go. Oh, well, yeah, instructions, of course. All right, first dinosaur, we have the Velociraptor. These questions are helpful for those who saw the Disney's dinosaur movie, which I know is kind of an older movie, or if you watched Land Before Time, that is the cartoon dinosaur movie. Again, kind of older. Or any other kind of dinosaur movie that you know what even a Velociraptor is. So, go ahead and guess his weight. He weighs 250 pounds. That's like the weight of like a very fit, large man who like works out all the time. Same size. That's crazy. All right, next dinosaur is see, this is where it's gonna get me. I don't know how to pronounce that. Deinonychus. Chicken dino bird. I mean, that's what he looks like, right? Yeah. But how much do you think this guy weighs? He looks crazy. How much does he weigh? He weighs 175 pounds. Like, that's just like a normal sized guy. That's crazy. He's a tiny dude. All right, next dinosaur we have the Allosaurus. That kind of looks like a T-Rex, but if you say so. These people know more about dinosaurs than I do, so. How much does the Allosaurus weigh? And the thing is that they all look the same size in these pictures. We can't tell. There's no context for guessing. But we have to make guesses anyway, so what do you think? What do you think? He weighs 4,000 pounds. That's a big boy. All right, next we have Sauroornithoidus. Yep, we're gonna go with that. He looks like a dino with a lizard head. So, how much does he weigh though? That's the question at hand. Go ahead and make your guesses. Because he weighs 60 pounds. It's like the size of like a medium to larger sized dog. So if any of you have like golden retrievers out there, probably like that big. You could have like a pet dinosaur. A pet Sauroornithoidus. Yep. Alright, next. Triceratops. I've seen these movies with these dinosaurs in them. I know this is a big old dinosaur, but we gotta guess how much this dinosaur weighs. So go ahead and make your guesses. This dinosaur weighs 14,000 pounds. 14,000 pounds. That dinosaur, he's big. Alright, next we have I am a Stegosaurus. I wonder just how much does one of those spikes weigh? That's what I want to know. But that's not the question at hand. The question at hand is, how much does the total dinosaur weigh? Gotta make your guesses. The Stegosaurus weighs 6,000 pounds. Not as big as our Triceratops, but still pretty big dino. All right, next we have Iguanodon. Like an iguana? Maybe that's just a large iguana. Scary. All right, but how much does he weigh? Is he a big dino? Is he a small dino? Or like somewhere in between? The Iguanodon weighs 10,000 pounds. He's a big boy. Bigger than our stego, still smaller than the Triceratops. All right, next we have, here's the big guy, the Tyrannosaurus Rex. How much does this guy weigh? He's a big dude. Go ahead and make your guesses. How big do you think he weighs? 14,000 pounds. Y'all, do you know what that means? That means he's as big as our Stegosaurus. I always thought the Tyrannosaurus Rex was way bigger. Apparently not. The more you know. Next we have the Ultrasaurus. Does that name sound made up to anyone else? Just me? Alright. But how much does he weigh though? That is the question at hand. His neck. I just want to know how much his neck weighs. How much does the total dinosaur weigh? He weighs 140,000 pounds. That's bigger than the T-Rex. Like the T-Rex would come up and try and eat him. But like, have you ever seen two giraffes in a fight? I feel like that's what this dinosaur would do. except his neck probably weighs as much as the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So you just knock him out. Y'all, this is bonkers. Alright, next we have the Seismosaurus. Alright, that's a long tail though. Long tail probably accounts for a fourth of the weight. That's a long old tail. How much does the Seismosaurus weigh? He weighs 200,000 pounds. That's even bigger than the previous long neck. That's crazy. Alright, next we have. Oh, we're done. That's all the dinos. I wanted more. Sorry, I thought there were more dinos. But that's bonkers. We learned so much about dinosaurs today. It's an educational experience for all of us, and I'm glad we could do this together. All right, we're going to go ahead and head into our message, but before we do that, we have to pray, of course. So close your eyeballs, hands off your neighbor, hands off your keyboard, hands off your mouse, hands off your screen. We're talking to Jesus. All right. Hey, Jesus, thank you so, so much for this day that you've given us, Lord. Thank you for the storms as they've calmed down a lot of the humidity and heat that we've been dealing with. And even though they wake us up in the middle of the night and they're loud, Lord, they just show another piece of just how crazy amazing you are. Lord, tonight as we talk about some hard things, I just thank you so much that even in hard things, you are always, always there. Lord, as we hear from your word tonight, may our eyes be opened and our hearts be knocked on by you. Let us be changed forever by your word, because your word is life-changing. Lord, we love you so incredibly much, and it's in your name that we pray. Amen. All right, so we've been in this series. This is week 4. Isn't that crazy? This is week 4 of our series. I feel like it's flying by. But think about for a second, think about your favorite movie or your favorite TV show or maybe your favorite book. Just put one in your head. I, as a teenager, was always a huge, I can't say as a teenager, I still am. I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd. The books, the movies, all of it. I love it so much. I know, and for those of us who have those kind of favorite shows, favorite books, favorite movies, you know the plot and the characters backwards and forwards. You've read it or seen it so many times. And anytime that we watch even a show, even if it's not our absolute favorite, we know that the thing that makes a great story is an excellent backstory. Every good character has one. Think about Batman for a second. Like, he's a superhero, he's rich, he's got cool gadgets, he saves the world. That's exciting and all. But what we want to know is that dude's backstory to how he became Batman. Absolutely. That's the exciting part. If you watch any like crime shows or police shows or like a judge courtroom show of some kind, I watch Criminal Minds. That's my show of choice. You know that the criminal's backstory is often what created him into the villain that he is in the episode. Absolutely. And you have to know that backstory in order to catch him. Backstories are incredibly important, especially in storytelling. And it's like those random flashbacks that you get like in the middle of the movie, or you read like in italics in a book where it's like a random memory. And sometimes introducing those memories can seem kind of random. And I know sometimes that's how life feels. Absolutely. There are moments in our lives where something happens, something in our real life stories, that when it happens, it's like, why is this even happening? What is the point of me going through this right now? And it's crazy. We're talking about difficulties, struggles, hardships, pain, things that will be part of our own backstory one day. All of the things in our lives that happen as we grow up, that when we look back, we can see that happened because so that this could happen. Absolutely. But when they're in our current story, when they're not quite yet in the past, it can be really rough to go through. The past few weeks, we've been talking about the question, what do we do when we don't know what to do? And today we are talking specifically about what to do when the heavy stuff happens, when life gets a little too real, when painful things happen. Things that, when they happen, you wonder, why does this even have to happen in the first place? Just like those movie flashbacks when they don't make sense at first, it makes us feel the same way. Difficulties often feel random, pointless, or even unnecessary. Sometimes we'll see the point after the fact. I know that I have some of those stories myself where at the time when I was going through it, I was like, this stinks. What's going on? I hate this. I wish this would end. God, what are you doing? Why do I have to go through this? All of us will have those moments. But now looking back and knowing my life now, I absolutely know why God let that happen. It's nice when we can see those puzzle pieces come together like that. But in the moment, we don't always remember that. We don't always remember that it's just another puzzle piece to the awesome story that God's creating for us. Instead, it's more like, why me? The outcome of those things often don't become what we want. Sometimes they're even the opposite of the things that we're praying for. They're super painful, and it's not how we wanted it to turn out. In those times, it can be really, really difficult to try and remember that God's going to take care of everything for us. It can be hard to see any point to the pain that we're going through, to find hope in the hurt, or to find the determination to keep going when we're in the midst of difficulty. And this is where we turn to our main man, Joseph, because that dude is the king of going through why me situations. Let's recap real quick, shall we? The dude has one dad, 4 moms, 12 siblings. They all hate him because he's the favorite. Not that that's his fault. And he has dreams about his family members bowing to him. Brothers hate him, throw him in a well that's empty, sell him into slavery. He gets put in a house that then falsely accuses him of something, and he gets thrown into prison for something he didn't do. I think that covers all of the why me situations that poor Joseph has been through his entire life. He went from free man to most hated person in his family to prisoner. And that's where we pick up our story. Last time we left off, Joseph was thrown into jail, and he meets his friends, the cupbearer and the baker. And that's where we're going to pick it up in Genesis chapter 40. If I can get it to work. Oops, there we go. All right. So where we are is Joseph has met the cupbearer and the baker. They both had dreams, and we pick it up in verse 1. It says, sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these 2 officials, and he put them in prison where Joseph was, in the palace of the captain of the guard. Okay, so we know Pharaoh. He's head honcho. Like, he's numero uno, CEO, Pharaoh's the boss. If he gets mad, he can throw anybody into prison, whether they did something illegal or not. Even they were like, dude, I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter. You're in prison. Pharaoh has that power. And so that's what's happening for our cupbearer here and our baker. And that's what happens. They get thrown in and they meet Joseph. Obviously, they're all in the same prison. So our story continues. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they both looked upset. Why do you look so worried today? He asked them, and they replied, We both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean. Interpreting dreams is God's business, Joseph replied. Go ahead and tell me your dreams. So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream first. In my dream, I saw a grapevine in front of me. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced clusters of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed the juice into the cup. Then I placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. This is what the dream means, Joseph said. The 3 branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position as his chief cupbearer. And please remember me and do me a favor when things go well for you. Mention me to Pharaoh so he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland and the land of the Hebrews, and now I am here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it. When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, I had a dream too. In my dream, there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket on my head. This is what the dream means, Joseph told him. The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Birds will come peck away at your flesh. Gross. That's not good. That's kind of a bummer thing to realize. Remember, Joseph's in jail right now for something he didn't do. And even in this really difficult situation, Joseph continues to honor God. He's presented with an opportunity to share a message from God with these 2 men, and he doesn't hesitate to take it. These men tell Joseph their dreams, and with God's help, Joseph's able to interpret them, and correctly, because they ended up happening. Here's what happens next. Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared a banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and the chief baker to join the other officials. He then restored the cupbearer to his former position so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief baker just as Joseph had predicted when he interpreted his dream. I don't know about you guys. Put yourself in the cupbearer's shoes for a moment. You get thrown into prison. Maybe for a reason, maybe not. You're in prison. It doesn't matter. You meet this random Hebrew prisoner in the corner. We don't know the guy. His name's Joseph, apparently. You have a really crazy wacko dream one night, and only to find out that this dude in the corner has access to the God with all the answers. This dude tells you exactly what's going to happen, and he's like, hey, new friend, don't forget me. I'd like to get out of here. And then it happens. I'd be like, dude, I'm never forgetting you. Absolutely. When I get out, talk to Pharaoh, I'm like, dude, Pharaoh, thank you so much, but this was predicted by this crazy Hebrew prisoner in the corner, and I gotta tell you about this guy because he's pretty stinking awesome. You can't forget that guy. I would never, ever forget him. Ever. It'd just be impossible. You would think that would be what happened, but Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. How rude. Big yikes. Joseph's in jail, waiting for something he didn't do, but he did this thing for his friend, his new friend, and after some time, he had to realize that his friend forgot about him. Absolutely, he did this nice thing for this guy, and the guy forgot about him. And even still, him doing that nice thing for this new friend did nothing for his own situation. Didn't get him out of jail to interpret this guy's dream in a positive manner. He did it anyway. I'm sure at this point he's wondering, what was even the point of that? What was the point of me interpreting that dream? It did nothing for me. Didn't get me out of here. Why did that happen? He finds out a little later. Well, I shouldn't say a little. 2 full years later, Pharaoh dreamed he was standing on the bank of the Nile River. Did you all catch that? I just want to point that out for a second. 2 years of being forgotten. 2 years, and Pharaoh ends up having this bonkers dream. Sounds familiar, right? And in this dream, basically, he has two different dreams that have the same message. Different settings, different things happening, basically has the same message, which Joseph ends up interpreting. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's see what happens. The next morning, Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dreams, so he called for all the magicians and the wise men of Egypt. And when Pharaoh told them his dreams, not one of them could tell him what they meant. Finally, the king's chief cupbearer spoke up. "Today I have been reminded of my failure," he told Pharaoh. "Some time ago, when you were angry with the chief baker and me, you imprisoned us in the palace of the captain of the guard. One night, the chief baker and I each had a dream, and each dream had its own meaning. There was a young Hebrew man with us in prison who was a slave of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he told us what each of our dreams meant, and everything happened just like he had predicted. I was restored to my position as cupbearer, and the chief baker was executed and impaled on a pole. Pharaoh sent for Joseph at once, and he was quickly brought from the prison. After he shaved and changed his clothes, he went in and stood before Pharaoh." All right, so Joseph's now remembered. It's been 2 full years later, and Pharaoh tells Joseph his dreams. Basically, the message of the dream that Joseph interpreted was soon coming would be 7 years of plenty. All of the harvest, all of the animals, everything in the land would be nothing but huge blessing, absolute blessing, nonstop blessing. And then right after that would be 7 years of complete famine, nothingness. And when Joseph interprets this dream, God gives him the wisdom to say, "Hey, Pharaoh, I've got an idea. If we're going to have 7 years of plenty, we should stock up everything we don't absolutely need those years and store them away so that when the 7 years of famine come, we'll be able to make it. We'll be able to survive." And thank God he gives that suggestion, because then this happens. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone else like this man, so obviously filled with the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has revealed the meaning of the dreams to you, clearly no one else is as intelligent or as wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on my throne, will have a rank higher than yours." This means Joseph is now second in command. He is the vice pharaoh. He is number 2. That's insane. Only Pharaoh, who was considered by the Egyptians a god. They considered Pharaoh a god. We know that's not true. But the Egyptians considered Pharaoh a god, and now Joseph is the vice. He's number 2. That's crazy. And think about everything Joseph had to get through just to get to this point. I mean, if Joseph hadn't been picked as his father's favorite, his family wouldn't have hated him. And if his family wouldn't have hated him, they wouldn't have thrown him into an empty well. If he hadn't been thrown in that well, they probably wouldn't have come back later to sell him into slavery. If he hadn't gone into slavery, he never would have met Potiphar. And if he wasn't in Potiphar's house and accused falsely, he'd never be thrown into prison. If he'd never gone to prison, he'd never meet the cupbearer. If he'd never meet the cupbearer, he'd never have the opportunity to stand in front of Pharaoh and give such a wise suggestion. And if he never had that opportunity to stand in front of Pharaoh, he would never end up being number 2 over the whole entire country. What a journey. What an absolute amazing journey. And the thing is that all of these things that happen for this great, wonderful thing to happen didn't dull the pain. Joseph becoming number 2 can't take away all of the years of hurt that Joseph had been through. It doesn't make it better. It just completes the story. now has the authority to do anything in the country, and his new authority can't undo all of the heaviness, the hurt, the pain that he had to deal with, that he faced at those times. But at the same time, those difficult circumstances positioned and prepared him for something great, something only Joseph could do. Because it said that no one else could even think of what the dreams had meant. Only Joseph can do this job. And the same is true of you and me. Hard things, painful things can and probably will happen in your life, unfortunately. It's just a part of life. It will happen. I'm sorry about it ahead of time. Life often brings pain. Just because it happens doesn't mean that it's something that God did to you or that God wanted for you. God doesn't like seeing us in pain. But because of the sin in the world, sin in our lives, things happen that aren't fair. Maybe they are fair. Maybe there are consequences to things we've done. And there are things that maybe don't make sense at all. People hurt other people, and they create systems of hurt in their lives. And when it seems impossible that anything good can come out of the nasty situation that we're in, just remember that God is a God of the impossible. He's really good at turning impossible things around. We see that in Romans where it says, we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called to his purpose for them. It may not seem like things are better, and it may not even make sense yet. It may take a while for it to make sense. But God is in the business, and he's very good at the business of taking hurt, difficulties, struggle, pain, and redeeming them, turning them around. That means even if it was done in complete evil, for the purpose of evil in our lives, God can use it for something so good, not only for us, but for others. When you don't know what to do, remember that your problems can position you for a purpose. Like I always love to say, God never wastes pain. Joseph went through tons of pain that often felt pointless at the time. But when we see his backstory, we see that God used his problems that positioned him for a purpose that only Joseph could fulfill. God took his impossibly bad situation and used it to create unimaginable greatness down the road. And we'll talk about more what that looks like next week. But for now, I want you guys to leave this week and just think, as things have maybe happened in your life already, things that will happen, maybe things that you're going through right now that are painful and often seem pointless, just imagine all of the absolutely amazing things that God will bring to you and through you because of it, because he will, I promise. But for now, we're going to talk more about that next week. I hope you guys have a great and wonderful rest of your week. And until then, I will see you guys next week for our very last week of midweek. Have a great night.